Cordell Price stood outside the crystal doors of the Grand Meridian Hotel, watching his ex-wife receive a standing ovation from 300 people. She wore confidence like a crown, smiled like someone who'd survived a war and came out stronger. His daughters, their daughters, sat in the front row, healthy and beaming with pride. 6 months ago, he'd walked away from all of this, thought he was making the smartest move of his life, thought he was choosing happiness. What do you do when you bet everything on the wrong person, and the world finds out? Stay with me. This story will make you rethink everything you value. Cordell Price built his life on surfaces that shined. The right car, the right address, the right connections. Success to him was something people could see from the outside, a reflection that impressed, a reputation that opened doors. For years it worked. He had the comfortable life, the ambitious trajectory, the image of a man who had it all figured out. Then the twins got sick. Rare autoimmune conditions, the kind with names that took doctors 3 tries to pronounce correctly, the kind that turned their home from a showplace into a medical station, pill organizers covering kitchen counters, nebulizer treatments at 3 a.m., hospital visits that bled into each other until days lost all meaning. Marjorie transformed overnight, became nurse, researcher, advocate, warrior. She sacrificed sleep, social life, herself. Every ounce of energy poured into keeping their daughters alive and fighting. Cordell? He retreated, not physically at first, just emotionally. The house felt heavy with worry and medical bills and exhaustion. Nothing glossy about that. Nothing impressive. Just struggle, raw and relentless. This isn't the life I signed up for, he told himself, working later hours, finding reasons to be anywhere but home. Have you ever watched someone run from responsibility when things got hard? Or maybe you've been that person, convincing yourself you deserve an escape. The bills piled up, the stress mounted, the distance between Cordell and Marjorie became a canyon. And somewhere in that canyon, Cordell stopped seeing his wife as a partner and started seeing his life as a trap. He'd forgotten something crucial. Storms reveal who we are, and he was about to show everyone exactly who he'd become. Vesper Lott entered Cordell's life at a charity auction. The irony would hit him later. She was everything his current reality wasn't. Striking model. Instagram feed full of rooftop bars and Mediterranean vacations. A life that looked like the glossy magazine spreads he used to admire. No baggage. No sick children. Number 3 a.m. panic attacks about medical bills. Just laughter over champagne. Dinner at restaurants that required reservations weeks in advance. Conversations that never ventured deeper than surface pleasures. The contrast became intoxicating. Vesper's world versus Marjorie's reality. Glamour versus nebulizers. Freedom versus responsibility. Cordell convinced himself this was happiness. That he deserved this. That staying in a difficult situation when an easier option existed was martyrdom, not commitment. The affair deepened through secret meetings and parking lot phone calls. Lies became routine. Guilt became something he rationalized away with practiced ease. I deserve to be happy, too, he told his reflection. What he didn't tell himself. Happiness built on someone else's pain isn't happiness. It's just selfishness with better lighting. Vesper represented everything he thought he wanted. A life where difficulty didn't exist, where image mattered more than substance, where he could be the person he'd always imagined without the messy reality of sick children and struggling wives. He convinced himself he was choosing happiness. He was actually choosing hollow. And hollow, he would learn, has a way of echoing back everything you've lost. But first, he had to lose it. Marjorie was drowning, and nobody was throwing lifelines. The medical bills had become mountains. The exhaustion, bone-deep, soul-crushing exhaustion, made simple tasks feel impossible. She was losing herself in the machinery of keeping her daughters alive. Her mother visited on a gray Tuesday, took one look at her daughter's face, and made a decision. When's the last time you did something for yourself? Mom, I don't have time for 5 minutes. Just fill this out. Her mother slid a form across the table. Medical Research Foundation sweepstakes. For families dealing with chronic illness. Marjorie almost laughed. I never win anything. Someone has to win. Why not you? 5 minutes. Basic information. Click submit. Then back to pill schedules and doctor's appointments and pretending everything was fine. Weeks passed. Marjorie forgot she'd even entered. Meanwhile, Cordell was pulling away. Canceled dinners. Avoided conversations. Came home late smelling of perfume that wasn't hers. She tried everything to save what was left. Romantic gestures he barely acknowledged. Vulnerable conversations he deflected. Efforts met with indifference. She tucked the twins in each night, then sat alone in a house that felt emptier with her husband in it than it would without him. Autumn arrived. Leaves falling. Everything changing. The letter came on an ordinary afternoon. Plain envelope. Foundation letterhead. Her hand shook as she read. We are pleased to inform you that you have been selected as a grand prize winner. $1 million. Everything stopped. The world tilted. Tears came, relief, disbelief, gratitude flooding through years of stress. Her daughter's treatments. The mortgage. Finally, breathing room. Her first thought, tell Cordell, share this miracle, save their family. She'd hold that thought for exactly 4 hours. That evening, Marjorie set the table for 2. Nothing fancy. They couldn't afford fancy. But she tried to make the moment special for the news that would change everything. The envelope sat in her pocket, like a secret heartbeat. Cordell arrived late, distant, eyes that looked through her instead of at her. We need to talk. For words, she'd heard them in 1,000 movies. Never thought she'd hear them in her kitchen. His speech was rehearsed, polished. I'm not happy. We've grown apart. The stress is too much. I need to start fresh. Start fresh? Cordell, our daughters. I can't do this anymore. Can't do what? Be a father? Be a husband? Silence. Then, there's someone else. The name landed like shrapnel. Vesperlot. Marjorie felt the envelope in her pocket. The $1 million that could change everything. The news that made his abandonment even more devastating because of its timing. A choice crystallized in that moment. Tell him about the money or let him go. If he was leaving now, when they were struggling, when their daughters needed him most, he didn't deserve to know. If he'd only stay for money, she didn't want him. If that's what you want, her voice surprisingly steady, I won't stop you. She saw relief flash across his face. Relief, like she'd just agreed to let him out of prison. You'll be okay. You're strong. The cruelty of it. Praising her strength while abandoning her to use it alone. Papers were signed within days. He waived everything. Custody, financial support, any claim to their shared life. Eager to be free. Eager to start his glossy new chapter. Moving day came. Boxes carried out while their daughters watched, confused. Too young to understand betrayal, but old enough to feel abandonment. His last words at the door, this is better for everyone. Then he was gone. Marjorie held her daughters as they cried. The envelope still in her pocket. Her tears mixing loss and relief in equal measure. He'd walked away from $1 million. He just didn't know it yet. Drop a comment. Have you ever had incredible news arrive at the worst possible time? Weeks became a strange new rhythm. Marjorie quietly activated her windfall. Trust funds established for the twins' medical care. Mortgage paid off. Bills that had haunted her sleep vanished. For the first time in years, she exhaled fully. Her mother's wisdom echoed. Don't hide your blessing out of shame. You did nothing wrong. The Foundation's publicity requirement meant her story would be shared. Winner featured in their quarterly newsletter. Local media picked up the narrative. Single mother. Chronically ill children, $1 million miracle. The story wrote itself. And the community read between every line. Meanwhile, Cordell was discovering that Vesper's glamorous lifestyle required constant funding. Restaurants where appetizers cost more than his old mortgage payment. Weekend trips that drained savings. Maintaining her image became his full-time financial responsibility. The shine was already fading when the whispers started. Did you hear about your ex-wife? A former colleague at a networking event, eyebrows raised. Cordell's confusion turning to shock as the story unfolded. Marjorie, $1 million. One right after he left. The timeline crushed him. She won after he left. Days after, while he was moving boxes into Vesper's place, Marjorie was opening that letter. He'd missed it by days. But worse than the money was what followed. Business contacts growing cold. You left your sick kids, while your wife was struggling with medical bills. Reputation. The thing he'd valued above everything. Crumbling faster than he could repair it. Doors closing in professional circles. Networking events where invitations mysteriously stopped arriving. Contracts not renewed with vague explanations. His name attached to whispered conversations. That guy who abandoned his family. Social media amplified everything. Someone posted the story. Then another. Then another. His face attached to a cautionary tale going viral in business communities. Vesper noticed. Of course she noticed. His reduced circumstances. His damaged reputation. His resources stretched thin maintaining the lifestyle she required. Her interest cooled with mathematical precision. Texts took longer to return. Dates became too busy. The woman who'd promised forever lasted exactly as long as his usefulness. 6 months after leaving his family, Cordell found himself alone in an overpriced apartment, scrolling through photos of Marjorie at charity events. If you believe in karma, hit that like button and subscribe, because these stories show that actions have consequences. Marjorie's transformation wasn't just financial. It was fundamental. She'd survived the worst: abandonment, financial terror, the possibility of losing her daughters. She'd walked through fire and emerged stronger. That kind of strength changes you from the inside out. The first speaking invitation surprised her. Medical research fundraiser. They wanted her to share her story. She almost said no, then looked at her daughters, thriving on treatment she could finally afford, and said yes. Standing at that podium felt surreal. 300 people listening as she talked about hope in the darkness, about resilience when everything falls apart, about the unexpected ways blessings arrive. We're stronger than we know, she told them. And sometimes we discover that strength only when we're forced to stand alone. The standing ovation brought tears she couldn't hold back. More invitations followed. Charity galas, medical conferences, parent support groups desperate for hope. Her story resonated because it was real, messy and painful, and ultimately triumphant. She became an advocate for families with chronically ill children. Used her platform not for revenge, but for a purpose, to help others navigate the nightmares she'd survived. Her daughters thrived. Better treatments. Stable home environment. No more tension crackling through dinner conversations. Their father's absence became just a fact, not a wound. Marjorie's love proved sufficient. The community embraced her. Real friendships formed. People drawn not to her money but to her strength, her grace, her refusal to become bitter despite every reason to be. Cordell heard about each achievement, each speaking engagement, each accolade. Every success was a reminder of what he'd abandoned, the life he could have had, the partner who would have shared everything, the family he'd traded for temporary pleasure. His bitterness grew. That money should have been ours. Missing the point entirely. It was never about money. Meanwhile, Vesper's goodbye texts arrived with brutal efficiency. This isn't working. You're not what I thought. Translation: you're not rich enough, successful enough, useful enough anymore. Shallow foundations crumble fast. Cordell found himself alone, watching Marjorie's life bloom from a distance, understanding too late what he'd lost. Do you know someone who chose glitter over gold and regretted it? Here's the truth Cordell learned too late. We show our character when times get hard, not when they're easy. Anyone can be loyal when life is comfortable. The real test comes when staying requires sacrifice. Cordell chose escape over responsibility, appearance over substance, temporary pleasure over lasting love. He bet on the wrong things: glamour that faded, status that crumbled, surface beauty that disappeared when his bank account thinned. He lost the real treasures: family who needed him, partnership that could have endured, integrity that once defined him. Marjorie didn't win because of the money. She won because she stayed, because she fought, because she loved unconditionally when loving was hardest. The $1 million was just confirmation of what was already true. She had the real wealth all along. Cordell's story became cautionary tale, not just in his city, but everywhere. What happens when you abandon responsibility? When you confuse pleasure with happiness? When you trade real for artificial? The universe has a way of revealing truth, of showing us what matters only after we've lost it. True success isn't measured in bank accounts or Instagram followers. It's measured in who stands with you when everything falls apart, in the love you give when giving is hard, in the character you show when no one's watching, but everyone eventually sees. So ask yourself, who are you untested? When life gets difficult, do you stay or run? When glamour calls, do you remember what matters? What are you building, a life of substance or a house of cards? Cordell stands outside gala windows now, watching Marjorie laugh with her daughters. Healthy, happy, whole without him. The life he could have had he chosen differently. Sometimes the riches we seek are already in our hands. We just don't realize it until we let them go. If this story hit you hard, share it with someone who needs this reminder. Comment, what's one thing you value that money can't buy? And subscribe. We're telling stories that reveal what really matters in life.